Hello and welcome to the Buckcast episode 26. Today's not so special guest is Ned.
Ned once more. I think that people are going to eventually get bored of that intro, but anyway.
That's whatever.
Yeah.
At some point we might just start talking and have that be the recording.
Hey, on the upside, we're still keeping track of the episode numbers, huh?
Yeah, I'm trying to... Now, I'm not sure it's a good thing, because what it really means is that I've been recording the day before I post them, the past couple of them. So, the reason why it's easier to keep track of them is because I don't have any recorded in advance.
Well, anyway, this time we actually have something a bit more centralized, an idea for this episode. Buck, would you like to begin?
Yes. Today I want to... This starts with a little bit of an intro about, as always, MBT. He had a video that was
Clip from a stream, I think.
Yep, that was a summation of stream clips where during his stream he watched a bunch of people's progression series. Oh, there's a tour going on. I'm pretty sure that's that thing. Yeah. Weird. Anyway, he had watched a bunch of people's progression series. Most people submitted like the first episode, but some people that had longer running ones just picked whatever their favorite episode was. And it was kind of cool to just kind of jump into someone's already kind of developed progression series right into the middle of it, where you get all the people are more comfortable with the formula, blah, 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 blah.
You mentioned you don't have to watch the Blue Eyes White Dragon.
Yes, you don't have. You get to skip past the boring old school Yu-Gi-Oh! Right into kind of the more, not new school, but that middle period where, you know what I mean, just not beat down anymore.
It's not just goats.
Yeah, it's not just goats.
As much as people like it. Okay, we're going to cut that one.
Anyway, so jumping forward to a different episode that has some more exciting stuff going on. And also, in the intro of Progression Series Season 2, they mentioned lots of fun surprises to come, like the Judgment and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when you jump into the middle of it, you don't have to wait for that stuff.
Yeah.
It just all kind of happens.
Yeah.
And I had the thought, what if you made the perfect episode of a progression series and just never had a real progression series? Like you scripted it so that, if it was Buck and Ned's progression series, it'd be like, I come in and I say, I lost last week. And it was only my second loss, so I didn't get a banning. We got this much money to work with, and this is the pack we're opening. And you just, bam, you jump right into it, and you just kind of act as if people should know all of this stuff that happened. Mm-hmm. You very briefly summarize it, and then it's like, oh, cool, all of this cool stuff happens. It's a very exciting pack. Maybe it's like Duelist Alliance or something, some famous Yu-Gi-Oh pack. And then you do all that and you post it, and then so I just love the idea of like you showing that to MBT or just someone stumbling across it on YouTube. They watch it and they think that is an awesome episode of Progression Series. I should watch this series. And they go to the channel and there's just nothing else. It's just the only upload is like
episode 42
of the of Progression Series.
And they're like, wait, where's the other 41 episodes? It's like, no, that was the gimmick.
That was it.
That was the gimmick.
It was all scripted. So I kind of want to talk about like
the scripted progression series.
I want to kind of talk about like what would that script look like, and what would make it. Because in a way, this is also kind of useful because if we're planning on like what the hypest moment of a series will be, it kind of gives you a better idea of how you should start it in the first place.
Yeah.
So even if you're not interested in making a random episode scripted out of the middle of a progression series, this might be helpful for us and audience to kind of think about what actually do we want out of a progression series. Because it's the first couple episodes, they're always going to be the way they're going to be. But how it is later is what's really important. And so planning around that from the very beginning, I think, is going to be interesting. Mm-hmm. So first of all, let's just talk about stuff we do and don't like about progression series. Personally, I don't like that they only open core sets for most of them. I know Progression Series 2, they're opening side sets now, but still most people don't open anything except core sets. Which to me is like, what?
I mean, I think the point where there's like, so I won't last too long.
Yeah.
I feel like people don't like they do this just for like maybe the main sets, so that A, they can keep a bit more track of like which sets they're actually opening. B, they can like maybe avoid some of the very, very, very powerful cards that if any one of them pulls them and the other one doesn't, then they're boned.
Yeah.
And I think like those are just some of the reasons why they might avoid side sets.
And to be fair, in the progression series too, where they're doing side sets,
they're still not doing structures.
They're still not doing structures, and when they hit like duelist pack or something, it's like, wow, that was a waste of an opening.
Mm-hmm.
That changed literally nothing about the game. So I think just the smart way to do it, I think we've talked about this before, where it's just you kind of just pick and choose the products. Where, of course, you're going to do all the core sets, but then you just pick whatever side sets you want, and you and the other person just agree, hey, we're doing this side set. Maybe you lay out a roadmap that people can see. Yeah. Like in the intro, it'll show the roadmap.
One of my ideas was that maybe we leave, like, if you have a big fan base or like somebody that's actually listening to us, unlike us right now, you could just ask your community, go like, do you guys want to open this set next? Yes or no? And if they say no, then no. But if they like, this could also come in for like structure decks. Like, let's say if you want a structure deck to be available in your series, because I know a lot of series just can't do it because how are you going to do it? How are you supposed to do a pack opening for a structure deck? You're going to get the card guaranteed. Well, what if you go like, well, you guys want us to have access to this card? Yes or no? And it's like
community involvement, and that's also perfect for the scripting.
Yes, yeah,
because you can say, we asked you what set we should open. We asked between these, and these were the votes, and y'all overwhelmingly wanted to see this side set that we're opening today.
That would just be gaslighting.
It's literally gaslighting. It's scripted. It'd be really funny if you did that in a real progression series. Like, it's scripted, like what packs you're going to open, but you pretend that there's a poll every time. Absolutely. That would be literally gaslighting. Anyway.
Quite literal gaslighting.
But you could, for our scripted thing, that could be a thing. It's like you say, we asked you what set we should open, and y'all unanimously agreed, or this huge percentage of people agreed we should do this one, which would kind of add to the hype too.
Yeah.
Because it would kind of imply that this is more so than just the person saying this is an impactful set. Having the audience vote say, 90% of people wanted you to open this set.
Yeah.
That can also help convey to audience members that this is a really impactful set, even beyond just one person's word, right? Mm-hmm. Generates that feeling of hype, like everyone's excited about this.
Yep.
So I think that's cool. But the structure decks brings up a good point. Because so many strategies in progression series just aren't possible because they don't have structure decks. But at the same time, structure decks are really powerful in a limited environment.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the problem with like limited is that you don't have enough spell trap removal, you don't have removal generally.
Yeah.
And there's certain things you're missing that structure decks usually have.
Yeah, structure decks are usually structured so that people will have an entry point for Yu-Gi-Oh! At least during that time. And they include a little bit of everything. Bit, like especially nowadays, they include hand traps, they include staples, they include like the trap trick structure deck was insanely powerful. And like branded structure deck before that was also pretty powerful. Mm-hmm. Last two before those, no, not so much. Ice Barrier was kind of dookie, and Cyber Style, we don't talk about that.
But even if you go to old school Yu-Gi-Oh, they would definitely help round out your strategy, which would hurt the kind of some people's perception of the novelty of the progression limited feeling. Because if it gets too rounded out, it feels like constructed.
If it was just constructed. I mean, but like that's funny because I feel like sometimes people go into the progression series, like especially CMO's progression series, they go into it thinking like, oh, maybe we're gonna have a constructed game this time around.
Yeah, and then you look at the most ridiculous list you've ever seen in your life, and you're like, this is constructed quality. Like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the funny things that especially Progression Series 2 does, is that they pretend like these incredibly powerful staple cards make their deck, because again, they're playing, we could talk about the ban list, how you do a ban list in a second, but they're playing with traditional, at the time, format, so they're playing these crazy ban cards, and they kind of act like that makes up for not having as many copies of some of the cards, blah, 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 blah. And for power level, I'd say that's true. In fact, it's even higher because they have these crazy band cards. But what really, for a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh history, what makes the difference between a constructed quality deck and not is the consistency, which throwing in those crazy staple cards doesn't help at all.
Sometimes it doesn't.
I mean, like Painful Choice kind of, but even then, it's not like it's just one
Choice.
card. The Painful Greed, Pot of Greed, they increase the power level, but it's like, they really increase the consistency very much?
Guess not, maybe. I still don't know why all of them aren't playing like 3 Upstart Goblin.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you get it, that's when, I don't know what the, where
they
it
already
even came out.
Well, anyway.
But I agree, like that's something that seems super obvious. But then they try to copy deck lists from the time with that sensibility of deck building instead of trying to use modern deck building.
Or like just what they have in their disposal, like which was kind of, I think this was an idea that I pitched to you like a long time ago. Like we would call it the proxy series, where basically all of my ideas require a community that's already been established. But this one, you would pitch your cards that you pulled from your packs to your community, and they need to build a deck. And you just pick one deck out of all the ones they like give you. Sometimes out of your own volition, sometimes out of your community's volition.
And if it was a big community, you could do stuff like whoever, if they gave you whatever deck list you picked, if you won with it, you could give them a sub to your Twitch channel or a YouTube premium, whatever. Yeah. Which would be kind of cool too.
Cool reward. Or you could like give them another chance, go like, okay, last time you guys did me well, do me well again.
Yeah, and then suddenly the deck suddenly becomes I wish I was dead versus I wish I was dead every single
episode. You cannot do that, by the way. You can't. You're not allowed to do that. I wish I was dead. Stay away from both people.
they make a limit. Like you can only.
I'm just kidding.
I once I was dead is you're only allowed to do that like once every couple of weeks. You're not allowed to have him build every deck list.
Every single deck.
Shout out to I wish I was dead though. By the way.
Yeah.
What is
awesome? He's a different mind. I will tell you that much. Oh my god. I see those deck lists, and I'm like, how do you have time to come up with this?
Some of them are really good, but I've also seen some that he made that I'm like, what is going on here? Dookie. I think sometimes he gets a little too high concept with the deck list, but at the same time, I think just it's proven from Prog playoffs especially that he knows how to just solve a format sometimes. He can just figure it out. So that's interesting. And speaking of Prog playoff, one of the interesting things for them is they can't look at what was good during a time period after their first season ended, after they went to GX. Because now they're playing with a card pool that never existed. Like, significantly different, because they didn't have any DM cards. Yeah. So that's also an interesting thing, is that you have the chance to explore these formats that have never existed.
Never existed, yeah. Basically, only GX cards, which I wanted to say was pretty cool. But no, it was a hellscape. Like
you would think the first couple episodes were neat.
They were kind of neat, but like then once you realize that all the hero cards, no matter how much you only have those, they're still not playable.
It just became like, I think if I remember correctly, it was like normal monster synergy stuff. Yeah, because they have like the whatever. They have cards that synergize with normal monsters.
They definitely have what's called normal monster mirror force. They have several other cards as well that just like had to do with normal monsters. I don't remember all of them.
I think it's definitely better. I think what I liked about the GX reset for Progression Playoff and for any other person when they do a Progression series, having a season reset, what I liked about it is it's better than the first set format, right? What am I saying? The Legend of Blue Eyes. It's better than Legend of Blue Eyes format. The first sets of GX for sealed are just genuinely more interesting than Legend of Blue Eyes. It's actually somewhat...
I feel like everything's more interesting than Legend of Blue Eyes.
But also, I think it's more interesting than what happened in the Progression series, the Gage Nim Progression series, where it didn't change the card pool at all. Because the GX sets just sucked so much. Yeah. Where it's like, at least when you do this little reset, each episode matters. Because they're actually getting cards that are really relevant, even though you completely reset the power level. So that's a tenet for me. Is I think it should reset.
But you think it should be reset? You should be like set rotation.
Well, if you're doing your Progression series, it's my opinion that you should reset every core season, every series. Yeah. But I have a caveat for it, which we'll get to later. Let's talk about banning, how banning should work. So I think following the ban list of the time traditional format, I think that is dumb. What do you think?
I feel like the ban list should be modified.
Yeah.
Because the ban list at the time was made for the ban list of the time.
Yeah, it was made
for the
constructed.
for the card pool that was of that era. Your progression series card pool is completely different from the off the era card pool. I think there should, again, I keep on mentioning the community that does not exist here. But I feel like an interesting way that you could go about it is, yes, go to like some outside source. Maybe even not like community that you have. Like if you do not have a community like us, go to your friends.
Yeah, get counsel
from your friends. And then you can decide, go like, oh, okay. Or even just between both of you, like doing the progression
like the
series.
judgment and progression series too.
Very much like the judgment, just like judgment some cards out of the game. Maybe take up the 3 game loss rule, but like it's difficult, because in 3 game loss rule, kind of like how it's being done in progression series 2, it feels. I'm not saying they are because I don't know, but it sometimes feels like you can just throw.
Yes, I agree.
You can just
100%.
Throw a game so that you can avoid the banning, or you just like once you've gone through the banning once, you don't want to go through it again. Still, again, you can just throw. You can throw a game.
And the fact that, if I remember correctly, if it's 3 in a row, you ban a card, and then if it's 4 in a row, you ban another card.
Yeah, you ban another card.
Which feels like, whoa, like that can seriously destroy a card pool, banning 2 cards at once like that. Not at once, but sequentially. And I'd very much be encouraged as the person who's just lost the 3rd game to throw the 4th game. That's all it took was 1 loss at that point for you to ban another card, right? And maybe that guarantees you like 3 wins if you ban a Gyzaris or something, which I know that was a ban ticket, right? Whatever. But if you ban an integral part of the person's deck, that's suddenly... So I agree with you. The idea, and this is a general progression series to abstract this a little bit, the idea that losing is sometimes a good thing, in any sense, feels like a bad idea for something that's supposed to be somewhat competitive.
Like something that shouldn't be a part of the mentality whenever you're like going about your next strategy. Yeah. It's like, I'm doing it so I will lose. But anyway, I got a little sidetrack right there. What I wanted to say about the whole managing the ban list is that maybe you could have something similar to that, or maybe you could have another system implemented where, like I mentioned earlier, you talk to your friends, you go like, which card should we remove from this pool? Or maybe you just do it at random. Yep. Like there's a million different ways that you can go about it, but I feel like you should go about it a unique way to the card pool that you have available in your series.
Completely agree. I think, and now to bring it back to the scripted episode, I think that for that you would definitely want to have a card get banned, right?
Yes.
Because that's exciting. And also just for your progression steel, recognize that cards getting banned, that's exciting.
Yeah.
It's exciting when that happens. Whether that's at the beginning of an episode or at the end of an episode. Wherever you put it, cards getting banned is an exciting part of a progression series. And
also a relieving part. Sometimes it's like, I'm done seeing that card. Just get it out of here.
So I think I would like to kind of synthesize some ideas here. I think rather than making it 3 losses in a row, like every 3rd loss getting to ban a card could be good. And I also want to, I like the idea more of being able to move a card. So you don't just have to ban your opponent's card. You could take one of your cards from banned to limited or something, right? Which, that could make it so there's a little bit more back and forth with the ban list.
Yeah.
Because I don't necessarily like that just the power level just gets knocked down every single time. Whenever a banning happens, it could just be that you get to, you lost, here's a little something back. That's something
maybe
that might have
got
power up a little bit.
I don't know, like, because you're already getting something for losing a lot, which is like banning your opponent's card.
Yeah.
But what if?
Well, I'm saying instead of banning a card, you could choose to instead bring a card back.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds interesting. Or you could work the other way around, like since we're giving rewards to the winner, like every 3 wins, you get to bring maybe not something back, or maybe you could add something else or get another spin in the sense of
there should be something for the winner, but I think
spin for the wheel.
Not this is a not just progression series thing. in a lot of the Yu-Gi-Oh series I see, they're a little too generous to the winner. And I'm like, if you're winning, you shouldn't get a super big advantage because then that's
obviously not a super huge advantage.
But I'm saying even in the progression, like the winner's wheel, I feel like to me, I'm like that should be a loser's wheel. Because I mean, it's random what you're going to get, which in theory makes it bad. But the SEMO has proved that you can make very good use of it. So I don't know, but also like the Wheel of Yu-Gi-Oh, DZF, also featuring MBT because of course MBT is everywhere. But for them, the person who won gets first pick of which deck to play in the next episode on the wheel, which is like, whoa, that's a huge advantage to give someone moving into the next episode that just won. So it just is like going to cause a snowball. So for me, I think you definitely need to be a little more cautious about what advantage you're giving the winner, which we can get to in a moment. But to bring it back to the banning a little bit, I do like the idea of the council or the community, whatever, having some outside force that decides somewhat how to balance the game, right?
Yeah, because I feel like, well, probably they're still going to be biased, but not as biased as you yourself are going to be whenever it comes to like banning or
when it comes to making your deck worse.
Your deck worse, yes. Like they're probably going to be a lot more brutal at times.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's kind of fun. Or at least I believe that it would be fun. And I don't know how good it is going to be in practice whenever it does. If anybody does,
I think it's definitely worth a shot.
It's worth a shot
for sure.
But
and that's a great thing to have at the beginning of your episode.
Yes.
Like a first little hit of dopamine.
Yeah.
Is okay. You do the boring little intro, like this is the set we're opening, whatever.
Now community.
Here's what the community decided is going to get banned, which is going to completely change how this episode is going to play out. And now for the rest of the episode, you have to think about how that ban is going to affect how the episode's going to play out.
Yeah.
Which again, for the scripted, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Right at the beginning, you have the.
Still talking about the scripted series.
I probably don't have the time to make it, but I think it would be really funny and cool to have just like a fairly well edited episode of a progression series that's like episode 42 that's scripted. Like the duel doesn't have to be scripted, right? But the who won the last episode and what set you're opening, all that can be scripted. I think that genuinely would be a good YouTube video. It's just, especially if you manage to trick a streamer into watching it. You know? Like the follow-up YouTube video where you explain how you made this by itself to trick streamers, and then you showed the streamers reacting to it and being like, oh man, this is such a cool progression series. And they click on the channel and it's only episode 42. That's
Am I being trolled? It's like, yes, you are.
That's such a good reaction to me. Anyway, but the banning, I think the community stuff. If you have a big community, obviously that would be good. But having just a group of your friends who are aware of how your format's going, maybe watch a couple of your episodes, could tell you, hey, this is what I think, and you can work around that, right? What else was I going to say? Also, I think ban lists, in general, should be more temporary. How do I put this? Because in the real ban list, when a card's not a problem, it gets slowly peeled off, right?
Yeah.
But in the progression series, there's nothing to do that. There's no mechanism to make that happen. And I think it would be interesting if all bans were inherently temporary. So anytime you banned a card, especially in the progression series where the power creep is really fast. Because, again, every week you're moving like 3 months ahead in Yu-Gi-Oh! Timeline.
Yeah.
The power creep is really fast. A card that you banned is suddenly just completely irrelevant. Why does it need to be on the ban list?
Like Cyber Dragon. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, why is Cyber Dragon still banned in Progression Series 2? It's not good. But
I know
later,
it's good, but it's not as powerful.
Yeah. Well, it would make a lot of the strategies a lot more interesting. Because suddenly you have a better light monster to play. So now it actually might make a little bit of sense to play a Chaos deck instead of what they've been doing. And later on, when Cyber Dragon eventually comes out, right? That card's just suddenly banned for no reason. You know? Unless they revert it at some point. They have to spend an unbanned ticket if they ever want to play the Cyber Dragon deck when it gets support. Which to me seems so weird. So I think that it would be interesting to say, like, after X number of episodes, any card that was banned, that episode gets moved to limited, and then X number of episodes moved to semi, X number of episodes back to unlimited. And obviously we could change it. So, like, for instance, extra deck monsters take longer to come back than main deck monsters for balance reasons, because the main deck monsters are generally less impactful at 1 than extra deck monsters are, stuff like that. You could work on that sort of thing. And then again, for the scripted episode, you can say, oh, this is what the community banned. This is the stuff that has expired on the ban list, right? Which kind of gives a hint that your progression series has a lot of history. Because like, oh, this got banned X number of episodes ago, and it's finally back, and I wonder how that's going to shake things up. But it never happened. It's all scripted. Yeah, I think that could be interesting. There's a lot of ways to do it. I'm not saying this is the best way, obviously. It's just some ideas I have that having it be temporary, having community involvement, and having it every third loss, I think is probably a very cool way to do it. And it has some built-in, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Correction to it. Because the community can always just fix it. If you or the community can always just fix it. If a card came off and you realize, these cards coming off way too soon is still going to be really impactful, the community can just ban it again, right? You have it for one episode and you realize, Snatch Steal's still too broken. They can just immediately reban it in the next episode. Fair enough, right? And speaking of community involvement, sorry, I'm talking over you a little bit.
It's fine.
The People's Duelist.
People's Duelist.
RGB0, his progression series.
Yes.
Which one was that?
It was
not Junior Journey.
No, it's not.
The other
not
one.
Junior
His
Journey.
actually RGB0's one.
I forgot the name.
I don't even remember what the gimmick was. I know there were like 4 of them.
No, it was it wasn't Chaos. It was, what was it called? No, Chaos Draft is
Hard Leg. That's Hard Leg.
That's Hard Leg.
Too many progression series.
There's too many. I know what you're talking about, though. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I just can't remember the name.
But he had a concept called
Wave Motion.
Wave Motion. You're right. Oh yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, I remember the rules vaguely now. But the thing I really liked that they did was that they had the People's Duelist.
Yeah.
So you obviously, if you won, you got a little crown icon for them, right? Yeah. But also they had a vote at the end to ask who is the most based.
Yeah.
You know, who brought the coolest deck?
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's really neat because it's a way of incentivizing cool decks. Because you could play Kalut for the 32nd week in a row because it's the best deck you could play, or
you could play a pretty cool deck.
You could find some saucy stuff to throw in there, and suddenly now you have a better chance of getting the People's Duelist, right? And you can
experiment with your deck.
So for me to bring some of this together, I think you can add an extra resource that solves a lot of the problems we just talked about, right? What are you supposed to do about structure decks and about product that maybe isn't really helpful? There could be times when a product is way more helpful for one person than the other. And so it's like, are they really going to agree on which one they're going to open? Obviously, the community has some input if that's how you choose to do it. But my idea is you add store credit as a resource.
Store credit.
Yeah. So every episode, you get a certain amount of store credit.
Okay.
And it'd probably be a very small amount. And it'd probably be like equivalent to real dollars, right? And then so that after like the 3rd episode, you can afford to buy one structure deck. And now it's like, cool, you can really round out your deck by getting one structure deck. Or you could gamba and you could open packs from a set up to wherever you are in the Yu-Gi-Oh timeline, right? Mm-hmm. Which also means like if there's some really impactful set that you don't want to open because it's too strong, like a reprint set like Dark Beginning 1, I think, is a really impactful one that like might completely shake up the format. Maybe you decide it's a little too powerful. Mm-hmm. But if you're using your money, your store credit, to just buy a couple packs and maybe you get lucky, that sounds pretty exciting to me, right? So I think that could add a dynamic. And then when you win, you get a certain amount of store credit. And if you get the People's Duelist, you get a certain amount of store credit, right? So now
we're just forming the amalgamation of all these progression series.
Yeah.
It's like all combined together.
All combined together into the ultimate progression series. Again, and then in the scripted, you say, I may have lost last week, but I was the People's Duelist because I brought
I feel like
X
this would
list.
be amazing in a tournament setting progression series.
Yeah, if you had more people.
More people.
But then you have to have more people.
Yeah,
which is a
that's the
whole problem to itself.
Yeah.
And well, with the and having a big community and having more people to do it definitely just makes the progression series just strictly better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of surprised more like Prog playoff ripoffs don't exist. Like so many people want to do the progression series ripoff, where it's them and another person. But it's like the RGB0 and MBT are the only people who have done it with like actual little tournaments with multiple people.
Mm-hmm.
And my experience, obviously, I'm sure there are some people who have been doing it,
There might be some others, yeah.
but I haven't seen them. And I have to imagine it's just the logistics. It's just too difficult to consistently record with that many people.
Yes. You have to keep track of like every single person where they're standing in the series. Yes, at the moment. And also like
just the time.
The time, just like putting these people together in a room. It's like D&D. Do you have enough time to like go play D&D with your friends today?
Especially if you're doing it weekly. It's like every week, because when it's just two people, you can find any time during the week the two of you are available, and you probably only need an hour to record the matches. And then everything else you can do by yourself.
6 hours.
Yeah,
6 people.
If it's like 6 people, that's like over 6 hours. Because it's like Swiss or whatever. So you probably have to do best of ones. That's what they did in Prague, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Did they? Yeah, I think something like that. Or they didn't have side ducking, something like that.
No, they did.
They did something to make the game shorter.
It was best of one.
Because there are just so many of them. And there's only, I don't remember, was it 6 people? I think they had 6 people.
I don't remember.
It might have been 7. Whatever, doesn't matter. But the recording just goes so much longer. In the progression playoff, there were several jokes about how they were up till 3 a.m. when they started at 8 or whatever. Like just sometimes it just ended up running really, really long, right? So that's just a genuine concern. So even though I agree that it's just strictly better to have more people, because also it means you have a lot more card pool variations between the different people.
You do.
Which could be really cool. And you can do stuff like person with the worst record gets a banning, which I did like, but if you did that with just 2 people, it'd get way too targeted, right? They would just keep banning each other's best card back and forth every episode, which doesn't seem good. But if it's like one out of 6 people gets a card banned every week, that seems fair. But it's whatever. The logistics, I feel like, even though it's just like strictly better. So more full-time YouTubers should do that because y'all should be able to work that out. Imagine a progression series
y'all should be able to like waste your time on this card game more than you already are.
Imagine like Nim, Simo, MBT, Farfa, DZ, Distant Coder, all of them have a progression series together, playoff style,
Wreck each other up.
I'm trying to think if there's anyone else that fits that tier. I feel like Distant Coder is a bit of a stretch to conclude with the other ones, but who knows? I don't actually know how big. I know Kevin's a big streamer, but I don't think he's that big on YouTube. I don't know.
I wouldn't really know, honestly. I mean, we keep track a lot.
Our viewers who watch streams. Anyway, so yeah, progression series.
I think he'd be down for it. And honestly, I would like to see a Distant Coder deck.
I feel like he could. I'm sure he could brew up some wild
stuff. Yeah,
for sure.
Like, dude, he's been brewing up Unchained for the last 3 years.
They just got support.
They continue to get support too. On top of that, like,
I'm sure he's happy about that.
I'm happy about that. I feel like that archetype should have been explored more.
It is neat, but it does feel like it's a really close to being busted. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just right on the hair of being. This is because it's like critical mass of cards that do stuff when they destroy, and get destroyed and stuff.
Like what happened to Unchained kind of reminded me of what happened to Volcanics, where they like got the what's called trap card support. I forgot the name. Volcanics. It was like
Blaze Accelerator
Reload. Yeah, Blaze Accelerator Reload. It reminded me exactly of that because it was such a broken card. Fixed a lot of the problems with the deck. Made it almost a tier deck on its own. And then it received nothing else.
Yeah.
And then it proceeded to fall into the depths of what it means to be a pyro type in Yu-Gi-Oh, which is have no support ever.
Yeah, I really don't get why. So many people like
do
Pyro.
I do not know why
understand it.
Konami does not like Pyro cards. Pain 96, this is for you.
No. I think they should do more tri-type stuff, or we can throw Pyro plus I don't know what else would go with Pyro. But
Well, yeah, exactly. What else would go with Pyro?
I
Reptile.
wrote down combinations. And
Pyro,
I'll pull them up.
Reptile. What else?
Yes, I wrote down a whole thing about tri-type. I might have talked about this before on the podcast. I don't remember.
Worm, maybe.
It doesn't. Well, Dragon, Pyro, and Worm would go together, but
No. I feel like
Dragon, Fire. But,
no. We already have the Evolcers, which are Reptile, Dragon, and
okay, let's see what I decided to do. I put Zombie, Pyro, and Fiend together.
Wait, no,
So Fire Zombie. That was an actual thing. That was an actual strategy people played for a while.
Yeah.
So Pyro, Zombie, Fiend. I put them together.
Pyro, Zombie, Fiend. Okay.
Yeah, some of the other ones I have here, obviously Beast Warrior Wing Beast. That's already a thing. Fish Sea Serpent Aqua is already kind of a thing with the Mermail and
It
the
was a thing.
Atlantean.
It was called Generation Next. Yeah.
Generation Next.
Or what's the next? Or Generation Fish or something. But anyway, it was called something, and it was like at the beginning of the GX era when they had like all these level 3, rank 3 monsters that were Fish, Sea Serpent, and Aqua, and they all had like this gimmick where you banish one of them.
Oh, that was the winds. Yeah. There was the wind. They were all winds, but they were Fish, Sea Serpents, and Aqua.
Yeah.
And they had a cool little gimmick. I liked
Generation
those too.
Fish, I think it was. Not next.
Something like that.
Next is Yu-Gi-Oh!
Some other obvious combinations here: Worm, Dino, and Dragon.
Worm, Dino, and Dragon.
Those are all literally the same thing. It'd be too good to put them together, but they are literally the same.
I think Evolcers already took the
Well, they got Reptile, Dragon, and Dinosaur. Right? That's their combo.
Yeah.
Which isn't interesting. It's cool. And the Evolzers are getting support too.
Yeah.
I like them. But then Machine, Psychic, Cybers.
Machine, Psychic, Cybers.
They're
makes
all the
sense.
same.
Yeah, that feels like it makes sense.
I think the problem
Thunder?
here is that I put these together in a way that makes sense instead of in a way that Konami would have already done.
Yeah.
I put Fairy, Divine, and Thunder together.
Fairy, Divine, and Thunder. I guess.
It's Divine and Thunder.
The Divine and Thunder. Yeah.
And then fairies are the emissaries of the divine, right?
Yeah.
I also, for Warrior and Spellcaster, I felt like they obviously went together. But what the third one was, I wasn't really sure. I feel like it could be Fairy or Beast, even. That comes with the question is like, do you care about overlap, right?
Yeah.
Do you care if the tri-types overlap? I don't really care, But the idea of tri-types is cool because you can print cards that support all 3 of those types.
Yeah.
At once. Because I think we did at some point we had a bit of type inflation where they realized, we don't really care about like half of how many types do we have right now? 12?
Yeah, I do not know. Okay. You can count them right now.
Uh-huh. So they kind of, at some point they realized we don't really care about most of these. So if we just kind of start clumping them together, create support cards that support multiple different types and let you kind of mix them together, that would definitely help.
Managing at least, the overinflation of types. Yeah, I understand.
Can you imagine a progression series where they had custom cards? I wonder how
feel like there already has been something like that in the past. Especially when it comes to like private lobbies, like people that don't really post this stuff. I know there's been like progression series with purely just custom cards. Some, how should I put it? Like they're custom cards. they're not gonna be the most interesting duels. It's literally just like I activate this card and I won the game. Wow.
There are 24 types, by the way.
24 types,
which is like twice as much as I thought there were already. So
yeah,
we've got a lot of types that don't do anything.
What's the least represented type?
Oh, I have a whole. Let's see where I collected all this data already. Let me pull it up. Did I put it here? We'll find out. Nope.
Well, going back to our talk about the progression series.
Oh, it was probably. Yes.
How interesting would it be to like make? I know there was like this joke between P96 and like his following, where like they were like the Pyrogression series, where they only open
they only open Pyro.
Pyro.
Or maybe they just can
Pyro-themed
only use
packs.
pyro cards.
No, it was only pyro-themed packs that they opened, and they could only use pyro-themed cards. But what if you could do that for like other types? I know there's like pyro is just underrepresented completely.
Well, pyro, it's like you get to open 3 products.
Yeah.
Wow.
But what about fish? What about like reptiles, dinos, all those other cards? What if you could do like a progression series for all those other ones? I feel like that would also be pretty cool.
Yeah, they'd be well for something like Dragon. You basically go through the whole history of Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah,
to be fair,
almost.
But where it's something like Pyro, it's kind of neat because it's actually shorter.
Kind of neat. Like that was too neat. That was too small.
Well, I had collected everything, but I actually don't know where. Oh, there it is.
You have deleted it.
No, here it is. The lowest number with 0 cards of the type water combination. Well, oh, sorry, you just want to know what type has the least, which would be Sea Serpent, actually. Only 82 Sea Serpents. As of when I made this, which was
82 Sea Serpent monsters.
Yeah, total.
That's
and
kind of...
71 of them are water monsters, unsurprisingly.
Yeah. What are the other ones? Fire?
Well, there is no fire. There's a fire. How many fire waters are there? There's one. One fire Sea Serpent, which is like the
Flare Dragon.
Probably, yeah. I think he is a Sea Serpent. So. Or was he a pyro? He's a pyro.
He's a pyro.
But there's one fire Sea Serpent, at least as of when I made this. But there were. So this is. I did the types, and so Sea Serpents make up 1.43% of all Yu-Gi-Oh! Of all monster cards. Or all Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards? Whatever. Specifically all monster cards. So it's about 2% of Yu-Gi-Oh! Monsters are Sea Serpents, which is not a lot. I put somewhere it's 24 types. If they were all equally represented, that would be...
That's not counting spells and traps.
That would be 239 cards, and they've got 82. If it was equally distributed, they would have 238, which would be about 4%. So they're about a bit more than half underrepresented compared to quote-unquote average.
I see.
Anyway. But let's look at the water fire.
That's what it means to be bleak, guys.
Sea serpent.
This is where we are.
This is where we are. We are sea serpents.
We are sea serpents. We are the underrepresented.
Oh, it's Laval chain.
Laval chain.
So there's 0 legal fire sea serpents.
Wow.
But one does exist. Anyway, interestingly, the second least represented is Worm. But they just got too many good cards. And then right after that, that's Pyro, which, famously bad.
It was so funny to me how, they created the Worm type because they didn't want dragons to continue getting stronger, but they just made that strong.
Yeah, they printed the Worm type. They're like, we made too many good dragons. And they're like, oops, I made Dragon 2, and it's also just good. Wow. Kind of a critical mass problem. Anyway, I thought it was really interesting that there are no water pyros, which is, the only thing that they're in Firefish. Firefish, water pyro, that's the only 2 things that don't have any cards.
Maybe that could go with the Chaos Archetype that you've been talking about.
Yeah, where you could have a thing that's like the fire and water, and you have...
What was that one fire, water, Chaos type monster? I forgot his name.
I think so. I don't know. I have no idea how to even find that. But I know what you're talking about. I know what it looks like, too. It's the crazy serpents spinning around each other.
Yeah, yeah.
And one's made of fire and one's made of water. Mm-hmm. I wonder what type do you...
The only reason why I remember that card is because I saw it recently in what's called Teen Samurai X1 video, where he literally based himself, his entire deck, off making a Chaos Fire Water deck. Mm-hmm. It was just that. It was making that guy.
Which is funny.
Which is funny and was pretty cool, honestly. I love the artwork on those cards, on the alternate Chaos monsters. They had pretty good style, I want to say.
I feel like we don't really have a good name for what to call it. So that's Frost and Flame Dragon, who is a water dragon. Would have been cool if he was a pyro water. To kind of
create it.
Put it together.
Frost and Flame Dragon.
Cannot be normal summon set. Must be special summon from your hand by banishing 1 fire and 2 water from your graveyard. Cannot be special summoned by other ways. Once per turn, you can discard a card to target one monster on the field, destroy that card. So even at the time it came out, it sucked. Elemental Chaos, I think that's what people are calling them.
Discard a card. Elemental Chaos. The Elemental Chaos commands. That sounds cool. I mean, yeah, no, makes sense. Anyway,
because it's the other elements other than the light and dark.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, I have this whole Excel spreadsheet about what it is, and if the highest number, the type attribute combination with the most cards in it is Dark Fiend, with 567.
Now imagine a progression series with all the Dark Fiends.
Yep.
You can only play Dark Fiend cards.
Mm-hmm.
Dark Fiend team.
Wow,
cards.
they're just playing almost Yu-Gi-Oh.
They're almost only playing Yu-Gi-Oh.
Very slightly different.
No, that's an interesting idea. Like,
apparently, Elemental Chaos is the name of a hero card, so
that's cool.
that is the only result that I get if I search that.
Okay. So, I was thinking, since we're talking about progression series and everything, and ideas for progression series.
Oh, yeah.
A cool idea would be like doing exactly just this, like looking at represented or underrepresented typings and go like, okay, I want to like make a series in which we only open packs in which are at least the themed monsters can be found within them. And those are the only ones you, what's called, open / buy / whatever you're going to be doing, like to acquire the cards within that set. And I don't know if you should go with only using those cards themed after that, or use every single card within that pool.
Maybe dictate like everything that has some sort of synergy.
Yeah, but what's synergy? Because everything...
The council will decide.
Technically, everything has synergy in like, what's it called? Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, popping your own card is synergy at times.
The council will decide.
The council will decide?
Uh-huh.
And where's this council?
Yeah, the council.
The non-existent council, I see.
Just grab like the couple of people we know, and they say, you are the council now? You
I see, we're gaslighting them again. We have a council, but we do not have a council.
I thought about making a series of YouTube shorts. People can tell me if this is a good idea. Where I say, like, the first YouTube short is, hey, these are all the attributes and types in Yu-Gi-Oh! Click the link for whichever type attribute combination you think you'll like. And then I have a video for every single type attribute combination where I talk about what Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks exist that are that type attribute combination, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the videos is Fire Sea Serpent, and I say, there's only one Fire Sea Serpent, and that's the Volchain, who was banned for being very powerful. But the Sea Serpent thing, blah, 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 and if you want to talk about fire, water sort of combinations, unfortunately, blah, 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 right? You get the idea. And then if it's something like Dark Fiend, I'm like, there's a lot of options. You could play Abyss Actor, you could play this, that, blah, blah, blah. This is what this is like, right? Mm-hmm. So I thought about making a series, because I feel like that's mostly just like a script. It wouldn't be too hard. Yeah. It's an easy thing to research. But for someone who's just like flipping through, and they see, find out what, and the links would be in every single video. So if they could come across any of them, and then I say, fire reptiles, there are 170 of them, and these are some of the themes, like Laval is one of them. That's a fire reptile theme. Yeah. And then I can talk about the next playstyle really briefly and move on. And then I say, if you want to check out any other type attribute combination, look at the links and find whatever one you like.
Were dinos? I mean, not dinos. It was Drex. I think they were also fire reptile, right?
For Jirax? Well, they're all dinos.
Were they dinos?
Yeah, Jirax.
They're all
I'll check, but I'm pretty sure they're all dinos.
Oh, they might have been no dinos. Fire dino. That's interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Why Jura cannot be bigger?
Yeah, they're all
like,
dinosaurs.
If they had just been like 100 attack bigger each, I feel like that deck would have been a deck.
Oh yeah, with the one guy who's the Blackwing
Guaiba.
That just
Velo?
attacks.
Was it Velo or Guaiba? I forgot.
Guaiba, if this card is destroyed by an opponent's monster by battle, you can special summon Drac with 1,500 or less attack from your deck, which can be another copy of itself. So that's actually just at the time period not a terrible card. It's a recruiter that recruits itself, or any other like a tuner. It can get you a tuner. which at the time period, especially in limited, would probably not be bad. I think they did play it in Prague.
Yeah.
What is the dude?
Velo, I think.
Velo. Yep. If this face-up attack position monster you control is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon Drac with 15 under or less attack from your deck. So they're both floaters. Okay. So they have multiple floaters. That seems like it'd give you like
it's
an
destroy
infinite.
or destroys. I'm pretty sure it was destroy.
Oh, sorry. You're right. It was Guaiba. If this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle.
So it was Guaiba.
Yes. So Guaiba specials from battle, and then the other one, the Velo, is the floater.
Guaiba.
So there we go. So they've got like the Blackwing thing going on, but they're only 17. You're right. If they were 18, like the Blackwing, isn't it 18?
Yeah, it was 18.
And they have, of course, Blackwing also has the Kalut, which lets you get over anything. So yeah, they were close. And the fact that they had an advantage in that the extra guy you were summoning could float into the guy that that battles and then goes over it. That could be cool, but
or maybe summon the tuner just right off the bat. Synchro into a Synchro 7.
It's just 17 or lower. It doesn't care about what level it is. The thing you're summoning. They could have printed a Jurak that's like a level. Well, they actually probably do have a level 4 tuner. The dude you summon. Because that's a level 8 Synchro right there. I'm pretty sure. No, it's not a tuner. Was that a rank 4 engine? So you summoned there's a level 3 tuner, and a level 1 tuner, and a level 2 tuner. That's kind of sad that they don't have a level 4 tuner that's under 1700 attack. So you could just make an 8. But it'd be kind of funny if you summoned like a level 6, and then you could just make a level 10
I'm already
Synchro.
like angry at Flambeau Fire Dog for being 1900 attack and then summoning a
level 4 tuner. Yeah,
a level 4 tuner.
That's just strictly better Jurak. Yeah.
Yeah, better Jurak, better Blackwing without the context of Kalut.
Blackwing's better because they have Kalut, and the thing you summon actually might have utility.
Yeah.
Like you're grabbing a Gale that then gets to half something, and then you make a Synchro. But yeah, if the Juraks were just the Flameville's a great example of they're just a tiny bit better. They're the slightest bit better than the Jurak cards. Mm-hmm. So if only the Jurak cards were just the tiniest bit better, then if they had a level 4 tuner, because arguably the fact that the one floats into the guy that attacks, right, makes it better because you could just set it and then now instead of having 3 cards and 1 Garnet, you could play 6 cards and 3 of them are just floaters that get you into the engine, which would be more consistent and it would give you a conservative play.
And for the time, this was great.
So, unfortunately, they didn't have a level. Probably if they just had a level 4 tuner, they
might have
probably would have seen some amount of play. But then again, 17 that's just a little too small to consistently run over things.
18's just the right amount.
18's the minimum to be playable, I think, for that kind of card. Anyway, sorry. To get back to Prog conversation, I do think it could be cool, especially if you're doing something like the types. It doesn't run very long. Because one of the problems with progression series is that they tend to go very long. And then that kind of just becomes what your channel is.
Yeah, and let's say, like, okay, now we're done with this season. Like, with this, going over this type and attribute mix. Mm-hmm. Let's move on to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. That sounds like a cool idea.
It does.
The Chaos Element. The Chaos Element draft or something like that. Mm-hmm. Hey, somebody, like one of you YouTubers do that. One of you YouTubers
do something like that. That would be cool. And then
I can't do it myself because I don't have time.
Yeah, no, we busy. You guys, it's your full-time job. You take the risk. You do it. But anyway, no, it's definitely interesting. I think you definitely could do something cool with that. And you could also play around with, one time you do it where you only are allowed to play monsters of that type, and then the next time you're like, you could just only open packs that are associated with that type, but you can play anything. Because they'd be shorter in time and scope, you could try out more variations on the rules every time, right? Which would help kind of refine it a little bit, I think. I don't know.
That sounds interesting. Yeah.
Well,
you can just... No, go ahead.
Dude, you were going to say something. I was about to change the topic, but you go on.
No, I didn't really have much of a thought just made. So just continue changing the topic instead of saying.
Well, I had a request to talk about the OCG ban list.
Ooh, the new OCG ban list?
I guess we'll talk about the OCG ban list.
I did see a little bit of that. Okay.
So, for the most part, I'd already kind of seen it. Basically, they copied us.
Kind of?
Usually, we copy them. This was them copying us. They banned Elf. I think they limited it on the last list for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, big whoop. Oh, wait, actually, it was unlimited. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, they moved it from 3 to 0. Cool. Good for them. Elf's too strong. We finally got Blaster back over there, which is cool.
Hey, can we finally get Blaster?
Yeah, this is a good sign for us, because I, like many of us, think Blaster is perfectly fine. Should definitely come back at 1. Like, who's going to play it? Jirak? It might, in the Evolzar deck, they might actually find a way to use... I don't think they have any level 7s.
I think like a long time ago, I'm talking within the context of like the game, like 3 years ago, the argument would have been, well, Salamangreat can use it
Oh my
God.
Salamangreat.
But like right now, what the heck's gonna be using like Blaster? Dragon Link?
If Salad plays it, good. Thank goodness. Finally a bone. They still can't get Salad off the ban list. They still can't get Gazelle off the ban list. But if Blaster is the thing that does it, good. Cool. I would be more than happy to see Salad back in somehow. And if Salad becomes a problem, I don't think it's going to be Salad's fault. I think it's going to be a generic Cyber's problem, right? Like the update jammer might be. I've seen some people playing with Cyber's pile decks.
Yeah.
And if you're going to pick a card to call it the problem card, I'm pretty sure it's update jammer.
Why?
Because it just lets you OTK out of nowhere. Now, to clarify, it's not very good because the deck shells that it's in isn't very good. I'm not saying it's actually a problem. I'm saying if Cyberse ever actually becomes a good theme again, the thing to look at will probably be Update Jammer because it just lets you steal games out of nowhere. But,
I mean, I feel like that's fine.
For now, I think it's definitely fine. But anyway, and Glow Bulb went from 0, so we already have Bulb at 1, right? Do we?
Oh, they had no Bulb. That's interesting. They had no Blaster.
I don't even remember what our
Medora. They had Medora 3, these freaks. What the heck?
Yeah, they didn't hit the
Ishisa cards?
Well, they hit the other ones. They hit Keldo or whatever.
Okay, they need to just like
the 4.
They need to actually get a excuse my language, but get a brain. Holy crap! It took you this long to put Keldo. I mean, put Medora, Kelbeck, and Halfness and Merlin.
Bulb is banned for us. Okay, so our Bulb is our Bulb. Let's slow down a little bit. Yeah. So our Bulb is banned, and they just put theirs to 1. I assume this is slowly peeling from Hulk. I assume they have Hulk banned.
Yeah, they do have Hulk banned.
I'm gonna pull up their ban list.
I think. Pull up the ban list again.
I'll pull up their ban list so I can have ours and theirs simultaneously. This is probably the old one. Let me sorry for Dead Space. Apologies for so Hulk banned over there, as I remembered, just double checking. So they have I think that just means now they're just leaking off the tuners that got banned because of Hulk, which is a good sign because it probably means that we're going to do that as well. So Global back, cool. I imagine that I'll see playing some stuff, some combo deck. I mean, Plant in general, Plant Link, probably could use that card, right? Just being able to have 2 Link material for free might be worth playing.
There's Plant Link still.
Well, the Sun Avalon.
The Sun Avalon deck, I guess.
I'm not saying it's like great, but it's on one of that maybe they get to summon off the what's her face, the Jasmine.
I never played that deck, like never played against it or with it or anything with it.
I've seen some stuff before Sun Avalon came out. I actually was looking at Plant Link. Like remember Plant FTK?
Yeah,
I remember that deck. That deck, it was definitely crazy, but I thought it was cool.
Crazy as in it was very poopy. It was not good.
Well, it was crazy in the OCG, if you remember. When those cards came out over there,
Okay.
the immediate next tournament afterwards, the finals was Plant FTK versus Plant FTK. And they had to emergency banlist it.
Yeah.
You know what they did over here? They banned Cluster Amaryllis before the cards came out. They preemptively banned it. And I was over there crying like, no, I wanted to play Plant FTK. Obviously, that would have been a horrible format.
Yeah, we already had like several firewall formats.
Yeah.
Okay, like we were enough. It was enough not having.
It's not even a firewall though. You don't need fireball.
You didn't need fireball. You need Gumblar instead.
Yes, it was Gumblar with the stupid. Yeah, it was dumb. However, okay.
I mean, not Gumblar. It was Bomber Dragon.
Yeah. Sorry. Anyway, so back to the ban list. I'm pretty sure.
Gumblar's too stupid, by
It
the way.
is. I'm pretty sure it's just that they had already hit the other. Oh no, this is updated. Well, yeah. So Keldo and whatever the other dude's name is, I don't know.
Okay, Medora, Kelbeck. You played this deck, and you're like, oh, whatever. I don't remember any of these cards.
No, I didn't play these user cards because I was actually. It's not like I say broke, but okay, and Agito. So Agito and Keldo, they had already hit to 1 before.
Yeah.
Before this ban list.
That's the shit.
So now they've I think they even did that before we did.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're just taking the other one there, which, fair enough.
They're really trying to rip these cards out of these kids' hands. Like, you can tell that they've had enough. Like, enough. Stop playing this deck.
Yeah. Those cards are, especially in the OCG, where they hit tier forever ago, and they still can't kill it.
I feel like we might have had this discussion earlier, but I think the real reason why people just cannot get rid of like tier in the OCG, it isn't because it's the best thing you can do. I don't think it's the best thing you can do in the OCG. There's so much other product, so many other cards. I feel like it's been power crept at this point. Maybe not power crept, honestly. Maybe not power crept, because I think they're still powerful. But like, you can do something else besides tier.
Agreed.
There's gotta be something else. You can just play branded, for God's sake. Just play branded. Stop playing.
Yeah.
Like, no.
They have so many other options.
And I feel like it's just cope. Like, straight up. I feel like people still playing tier in the OCG is just cope.
I feel like it's a weird culture thing where people got on it and they just kind of like don't want to stop. So they just kind of have to ban it out of existence if they want people to stop. But they're hesitant to do that. Presumably because, they banned one on Griffin Rider? When did that happen? That's weird. OCG weird.
OCG weird. Banned Wonder and Griffin Rider.
I wonder when that happened.
I think it was the list before. I'm not sure. I haven't been really keeping up. Not with OCG. TCG, you got it. Mm-hmm. All right, I'm your man.
But that's interesting. Anyway, and then they banned. They started, and now next up they limited the Lubellion, which is interesting. Yeah. I assume that's a hit for both the Dragon Link deck and the.
Had they already hit Magna Moon?
I think so. I'm trying to find it on the list. Yeah, they did. It was already limited. So they already limited Magna Moon before. Which is
get rid of the other two good ones.
Dragon Link and also just everything, because again, tier is still running rampant over there.
Yeah. So
it's still, probably not for much longer after this list.
No.
But I wonder that this is a possible implications for us, Lubellion getting limited. I'm not really sure how many people are playing that many more copies of him than one. I think it's like, what, is it 2 the standard? I don't remember.
I think it's 2. I believe it's 2. Like, you don't really need 3.
Feels like a weird card to limit.
It feels like a weird card to limit, but also this incentivizes people from like building the deck.
Yeah.
Like grabbing, your pile of bestial cards and just slamming them.
It definitely makes it worse to play a bunch of the continuous spell and traps.
Yeah.
Because some people are playing like 3 of them to grab over the course of several turns with Lubellion. Just like lock up the game.
Yeah.
But now it's like, if you only got one Lubellion, it's like the odds you're going to see it, you're going to have to dump it with your Branded Fusion, probably, if you want to actually see it. And then, is it really worth doing that just to get the trap card or
get a pop?
Yeah, get a pop or get the regain. I'm not really sure. So it makes the math a little more complicated on whether or not that's worth including. Yep, and then next up is blue.
blue, Sprite blue.
It's kind of
Fine.
interesting.
I guess hitting like the Sprite cards just as much as the what's it called?
The tier card. Yeah, they just feel the need to keep. I think that's part of the problem though, is that they just keep lowering the power level of everything, which is kind of what's helping tier not disappear over there.
Yeah.
But with that in mind, the two tier hits here was okay, and then TCG implications. I feel like they're not going to hit blue anytime soon.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I just don't think Sprite's the problem right now.
I do think that we might see a foreseeable hit to the adventure engine because it's just being used again a lot.
Yeah, I think it'd just be a consistency hit though.
Yeah, like maybe Artemis here to 1 or 2.
Yeah, something like that.
Probably 1 because I hate 2s. I just hate 2s. I hate it when they go like, oh, I'm gonna put it.
I think they'd hit either the right of the Artemis here or the Water Enchantress. That's probably my guess.
Water Enchantress to 1 probably what's gonna happen because I feel like they like putting monsters to 1 a lot more than like special traps.
And also limiting Water Enchantress is actually less impactful because it means you can still use the multiple right of Mirrorseers. If you have like 3 Water Enchanters and 1 right of Mirrorseer, after you use that one, there's no way for you to get another token. So they're probably going to go for the gentler hit, which is actually limiting the Water Enchantress. So that's a possible hit for us for that engine. But the sprites, I don't really think at this point, I don't really think there's a reason. And if they were going to hit them, it'd probably be like an extra deck something. Or maybe do something goofy like hit Angler. That's what I would expect. Yeah. Or maybe even Mannequin Cap. It's just not good enough right now.
No. I feel like Sprite's only being good because like the meta it doesn't have anything too powerful that's like definitive. Like Castro is powerful. Don't get me wrong. Like I feel like
but
it's
got
been
problems.
It's got its problems.
It's flawed. It's powerful, but it's flawed.
It's very powerful, but it's very flawed. I feel like the flaws fall on its consistency to like get the board on every time, and also like it breaks so hard against its silver bullets, which like Book of Eclipse, Nibiru, just board breakers in general. It's like you name it, like all those cards just like make it crumble.
And everyone's playing them.
Everyone's
because the deck is an auto win. If you don't have those cards, everyone's main decking them, which just really hurts your ability to be a best deck. Yeah, when everyone's got your number. And then speaking of tier, here we go. Havness and Merle, cool, good for them. They're kitchen up. So at this point, that means their tier hits are right in line with ours, except they also have Rhino Heart limited, so it's even worse. Yeah. But then again, people don't play more than 1 Rhino Heart anymore. So yeah, I don't know. That's to be expected, since they are still having a problem with it. And then more bestial cards, oddly enough.
Joy Swarm and Baldric.
Which feels weird. I mean, for over here in the TCG, it's like these cards just don't matter anymore. But without tier being a threat, these cards just don't matter anymore. So I feel like this is kind of an overreaction on their part. I can't know exactly what their metagame was going to look like, but I feel like hitting the tier cards was already going to do enough to kind of snuff out the bestials. Yes,
make them see less play. I don't know, honestly. Like, I thought tier was going to be done the moment Kid Kellos got banned, and then everybody still kept on playing tier. It's like, why are you still playing tier?
It's still not good, though, at least over here. And over there,
I didn't think it was good over there. I like the moment that their pivotal card, their searcher, and their extra dumper got banned. I'm like, why are you coping on this deck? Stop! Like, no, it's not good.
So it might just be that they're just that afraid that. But then again, why not just leave the bestials so that it's a counter for them to make it even less likely people keep playing it?
I don't play the format, so I'm no one to judge.
I just think it's a bit bizarre, but I don't think that's really matters to us. I think our bestials are fine. They're not going to go anywhere. I don't think they aren't really relevant right now. If they get hit later, it'll probably be Pizza Hut. Who gets limited or banned in the future. And mostly just because his search is so powerful. Yeah.
Get any dragon.
Mm-hmm. Yep, which also makes him especially good in Dragon Link.
Get all dragon, any dragon.
Yep. And then we have Skill Drain to 1. Weird. Not exactly sure why this is here. I assume it's some sort of Eldritch shenanigans they're having to deal with. Some stupid floodgate deck.
Look at the Eldritch still being played over there, huh?
Personally, I think Skill Drain is one of those 3 or 0 cards.
3 or 0.
Yeah. Because if it's at 3, it's like, okay, you know you're going to have to plan around this if you're up against some stupid back row deck.
Yeah.
But if it's at 1, it's like, is it really worth like worrying about? And then it's like, oh no, they just drew it. Well, that sucks. That's too bad for you. So I'd rather be at 3 or 0. Like, and that's me as a Prank Kids player, who this card's awesome in Prank Kids. Because you can just have all your effects in the graveyard. So you do this against your opponent, and you're like, cool. I'm going to do like everything I want to do, and you get to do nothing. And I just think
Battle Butler, blow up everything.
Yep.
Trigger, what's the Water Dragon thing?
Weather Washer?
No, the Water Dragon, the Link 4.
Yeah, sorry. What is his name? Roland Roaster?
Roland Roaster, like,
something
blow
like
up the Harpy's Feather Duster, your opponent's Psycho. Yeah.
Yep. And you could just do all that under a skill drain. And you can do the whole link climbing thing too, because all the kids activate the graveyard.
Yep.
Anyway, so even from that perspective, I'm like, skill drain, I just don't want it to, either it should not exist or we should have to plan about it. And for them to put it at 1 to me seems weird. But hopefully this means that they're going to move it to banned next list, if it's still any sort of problem. But we'll see. And now the semi-limits. Ancient Fairy Dragon from 1 to 2. That's interesting. So they peeled it off right up when they got the errata.
Yeah. Now they're peeling it off again.
And now they're pulling it to 2, which is fair. It's not like a good card, I don't think. Well, sorry, that's not what I mean.
It's not
having more copies doesn't make it any better, is what I really mean.
Yeah, it's like, what was that? The change from 1 to 2 wasn't as important as 2 to 3. Well, this one's like the change from 0 to 1 isn't as important as 1 to 2. Like, I feel like the moment that card became available, that was as broken as it was going to get.
Yeah. 2 Ancient Fairy Dragon doesn't really make any difference. Which means it's kind of weird that they didn't just put it to 3. I guess the only thing that could possibly matter is some sort of like prosperity nonsense. But even then, it doesn't really matter. Or rather, it could matter now because of cash.
Yeah.
Being able to play 2 so they can't remove both. I guess that could be the reason that this is noticeably better.
Yeah.
But I don't think it really changes much.
So Ptolemy is.
And I think our Ancient Fairy Dragon likewise can go to 3 next list. I don't think it's going to matter.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to matter either, honestly.
Saryuja, I'm kind of like meh about. They put it from 1 to 2. It's just asking for trouble. You know?
Just one of those cards that was always like being used in some annoying combo whenever it was going, like whenever it's part of it. It's always to dig further into your deck, and whenever you're digging into your deck, it's for something very specific. I.e.,
it's
like
not once per turn.
No.
And if a person summons the second Saryuja, you know they're up to something stupid.
Yeah.
You know they're going to do some degenerate combo, and you know you're not going to have a good day.
Yep.
So I'm not really big. I agree that it's not really relevant right now. Like, who's going to make Saryuja's Dragon Link? Who cares? But just the pulling it off at all from, I think it was fine at 1. I don't think there's any real good reason to put it to 2. I don't think we really want more people playing those stupid nonsense decks. Poltolmias, why don't we have this card yet? This card's poo-poo.
I do not know. I don't know what the pull against Ptolemias is, but...
Oh, wow. 3 level 3s makes an infinity.
Oh, my God.
Oh, sorry. 3 level 4s makes an infinity. 4s. Whoa. That's crazy. Technically, I think you can make this with 2 level 4s and a discard. Yeah. The Teller Knight Xyz monster that lets you rank up.
I think so, yeah.
Something like that. Doesn't matter. It's not good.
It's far past its prime. I feel like this card, like, there's so many other easier ways of making an Omni Negate that don't require, like, as much extra decks.
It's way better just to play the Adventure Package.
Yeah, it's actually way better to just play the Adventure Package.
Or you get the Negate and you get a bounce and you get material. So much better. And if you're playing in the Machine deck, you play the Regulux. There's just so many options. That's so much better. And I think this plays into Nibiru, too.
Yeah, it does play hard into Nibiru because you're summoning, like, okay, if you're going through the Teller Knight route, you're summoning the 2 Teller Knights, when you used to rank up, discard rank up into that, then rank up into the.
Oh, sorry,
infinity.
it's just 2 or more, so you could just make it with 2.
So
1, 2, and then you can make this
But
guy
you
which
need
is 3. And then you have to go up. Oh, you can detach 3 materials, yeah. So you have to, no matter what, that's going to be 3, and he's going to be the 4th. And then you have to go into Nova. And you could Nibiru there.
I mean, what I used to do is like the caveat: if they Nibiru me on Nova, well, I just summon a Mekaba.
Yeah, but you have to play a Mekaba.
Yeah. I know.
So you're goofy.
That's what I'm saying. It's like the extra space isn't really open for that.
Yeah, the fact that for 1 Omni Negate, you're going to have to play the Postal Elias, the Nova, and the Infinity.
And the Mekaba.
That's 3 and a Mekaba if you don't want to lose the Nibiru. That's 4 extra deck slots for 1 Negate. Which sucks.
It's not worth it.
I
feel like the only thing that it's worth it for is like other cards. Like, what was it? I can't remember anymore, actually. No, I think it's just bad now.
It might be good in like being able to summon some sort of rank up shenanigans later, like with Phantom Knights or something. But I don't think it'll be very good. Anyway, next up we got the
Cloak.
Yeah, Steam the Cloak. Again, this is just a Hulk thing. Yeah, where Hulk
releasing all the Hulk prisoners.
And it's going back to 2. I think it can come into 3 here as well.
No, I feel like that card is actually pretty good. It's abusable. It's spawns a token every single time it leaves the field.
Yeah, well, like who?
Just wait.
Who?
Just wait. Just wait. People will find it.
So without
the moment that you get a card that goes like, every time I leave the field, I get you a free token that has no restrictions. There's something wrong with that card. Just you wait. The moment that you can loop it, that's when you're gonna go like, oh, that's who.
So the fact that it can summon itself back is pretty cool, but that is a once per duel effect.
It is a once per duel effect.
So that one's kind of iffy. But you're right. If you find a way to loop this, it's infinite link material.
Yeah.
But are you gonna be able? I guess it could be busted at some point, but I feel like it's
gonna require a nice shell.
Yeah. Yes. There just isn't a shell for it right now. Yeah. I agree that it probably doesn't need to. It doesn't need to go to 3. Like what deck is like, man, what rogue deck is like, man, I really want Steam the Cloak. That's really going to help my rogue deck.
Really care.
I don't think so. I don't think this is a good card in Blackwing.
No.
They got Hawk back to 2. What was it at before?
Oh, this is another one. Yeah, that what's called.
I
think it went to 2.
Yeah, it went from 1 to 2. Like that, yeah, sure, bro. That deck sucks. I mean, it's probably, they have Colossus, so it's actually relevant for them.
It's relevant, but I think they only played the Hawk, and it was because you only you search it, and like the times you use it is just maybe for the mulligan. I think that's it.
Well, the special summon's really important.
Special summon important, yeah, because then you generates another.
You need a card banish, and if you've got a card banish, it's probably because you've got a search.
Yep.
Now it's still good. You probably, depending on the variant, they might play 2. But I don't think we're really concerned about Pure Thunder anymore. Right now
this is an engine.
Yeah, it's an engine in the combo deck, and they probably don't want to play multiple Hawk, so I don't really see any reason.
Gazelle to 2.
Finally, woo! Gazelle to 3. It's not going to be. It's not the problem card anymore.
I feel like I can
playing micro gutter.
Agree. I can agree with that now. Like. Salamangreat was definitely a good mid-range deck for a while.
For a long time. But it's just...
No longer is that the case.
Too power creep.
Yeah.
You just can't put up enough interactions to not die anymore.
Yeah.
Which the whole pro and salad is that you put up just enough to not die, and then you had amazing follow-up.
Amazing follow-up.
The
like
easy access code OTK. Yeah. The problem is that their high end just isn't high enough to avoid dying a turn. And giving the salad more gazelles isn't going to change that.
No,
it's going to help their consistency, which is nice.
Maybe some trump block whenever you really need it.
Yeah, but it's probably not good enough to prevent you from dying on the crackback, which is the main problem with Salad right now, is that they can't stay alive. Next up, Nadir Servant from 1 to 2. We never hit this card.
No.
there were some times where we really thought it might happen, but now it's just like who is playing this card?
I feel like all the, as my friend calls it, AIDS players stop playing it. It's
yes,
artifact book,
Yep.
or something like that. Mostly because you don't have the artifact cards anymore, or was it adventure? I don't remember. But anyway, like they've stopped playing that. Like I feel like that's a deck that's only played between formats.
Yes,
which, funny enough, I don't think it was played between these formats because Castro was just clearly better.
Yep.
And also hated so hard on that deck.
This is just a fallback deck, and right now we're not in really a position where it's
not a fallback time just yet because there's still
good enough clear decks.
Yeah,
still obviously good decks, and this doesn't stack up to those.
No,
so I assume this is a fine for them, and likewise for us. It's not going anywhere. It's staying at 3. It's at 3, right? Pretty sure.
What?
Need your servant for us. I'm pretty sure.
I think it was at 2.
I'm pretty sure I'm playing 3 in one of my decks, so I sure hope it's 2. And then Judgment from 1 to 2. We have it at 1.
You could just specify which Judgment?
Spellbook.
Spellbook of Judgment. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's good. Put some respect on my Spellbook of Judgment. Nah, I'm just kidding. I hate that.
Yeah, it's at maybe your servant is at 3 for us.
Yeah.
And Judgment, cool, bro. I hope you like spellbooks. I think it'd be really cool.
I saw a really cool deck, which was literally just like all these like spellbook or spell engine decks with Sky Striker plus spellbooks plus like something else. I don't remember what it was. I don't know Witchcrafter, but it was just like all these like decks that have like a banish or like a bounce or something like that. It was Sprite. It includes Sprite in there too with Smashers. It was cool. But I feel like that's as far as it gets. Like it's just cool. Like Judgment. Maybe now, it's seen it at 2. Maybe that's good because that means you don't only get like the +4 once. You get it like +4 twice. Maybe that's good enough.
You can kind of combo them together.
Yeah.
Does it even work like that?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. So I mean, cool.
I mean, you don't get another one, but I don't think you can grab Spellbook of Judgment with Spellbook of Judgment.
Yeah, but if you happen to get it some other way, you can get the draw twice.
You can definitely get it some other way because I think the spellbooks themselves can search like Spellbook of Judgment.
You can search it with all sorts of stuff. Yeah. And I think spellbook cards are cool.
Yeah.
You know, in general, I like their little lore.
Fate was pretty cool.
You know.
Yeah.
In Duel Links, one of the only things I thought was cool was spellbook.
Yeah.
With their little blue boy add. Secrets add the one that banishes mastery.
Spellbook of Master.
And then add Eternity. And Eternity add the gets back the
card that was banished, the secrets.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, it's cool. It was a cool resource loop to get a banish.
Yeah.
I really liked it in Duel Links. So if more copies of Judgment makes that engine playable in spellcaster or spell counter or spell oriented decks, I think that'd be neat. If they're using it to summon Jaugen, that's kind of dumb. But then again, like Jaugen, is he really that good right now? I mean, he's pretty good against Cash, right? No special summon.
No special summon, and then activate Birth, normal summon.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Suddenly that doesn't look so good.
Activate Birth, normal summon. You have to waste your freaking fate on that, and then they do it again, and it's like, okay, have to waste my fate again on that. I don't know. And you can actually still just normal summon Rice Hat. I think Rice Hat's just
he's too big. Yeah.
I think Jaugen's 13, right?
Something like that. I don't think he's very large.
He was not very large. Rice Hat is like Rice Hat.
Laughing at yourself, having a good time.
Most of Rice Hat. Attack with Rice Hat.
Yeah, how do you even spell Jaugen?
Jaugen. Jogen. Jogen.
That's what I was missing. That's not how you spell his name. That's Twilight Ninja.
It's Y. Yogen. What's the Jaugen? No. Okay, we don't know how to spell Jaugen.
Is he the spiritualist?
Yeah, the spiritualist.
Jow with a W. Jowgen.
The W.
Jowgen. The spiritualist. 13 defense. So yeah, he's a little easy
right.
to walk over stuff, and neither player can special summon monsters. Maybe that'll become more of a problem, but I don't really see it being a serious issue. Just kind of another barrier statue shenanigan. It really depends on what shell this ends up in. I really think the best thing this will be is just, again, spell counter, spellcaster, or spell card support, like you said, either as a Sky Striker engine, or an Endymion engine, or some other spellcaster deck. That's what I think.
Sadly, it is no longer 2013, and we can no longer pass this as a viable strategy. Yeah. It's just not good enough to only have one banish or one pop. Or
one interaction isn't enough to stay alive.
No,
not anymore.
Inevitability is here beyond the extent of 2013.
We've gone beyond that. And then we've got Fountain from 3 to 2.
Runic Fountain.
It's so searchable. I guess I think it would make more sense to put it to 1.
Yeah, because then once it's gone, it's like that's it. No more Fountain shit.
Can't you get it back from the graveyard pulling the cards?
I think they can with it wasn't Hugan, it was the other one. Freaking dog.
Yeah, but doesn't the dog have to attack or something?
I don't know.
Level 4 dog. If the card special summon, you can target one non-quick play runic card in your graveyard, add it to your hand. Never mind. So yeah, they can just get it back.
Yeah.
But it means they have to waste resources every time they want to get it back again.
Yeah. Which is I'm fine with that, making them waste their resources.
So, but putting it at 2 seems like it just doesn't accomplish anything.
No.
It makes it less consistent, sure, but it's
I guess since
every card in the deck searches it.
Since they also hit the Sprite cards along with the Runic cards, we're trying to get rid of Sprite Runic because I know Sprite Runic was pretty cool. I mean, not cool, we're very much used over there still.
Yeah.
Well, I'm slowly addressing these problem cards. I already expressed my ideas on the Runic cards before. I don't think I might have done it in stream, but if I did stream and podcast, but if I had to say it again, I do not like them. I feel like they had a design choice they could have done with those cards, and they chose the worst route ever, which was I'm going to both get a plus, mill my opponent, and be a non-xenophobic engine that can be splashed anywhere.
Yep.
And that was stupid. Stop doing that. Stop fucking making archetypes where you can just splash it in as an engine everywhere. Yep. Stop.
I think we're in agreement. Specifically for me, it's the fact that there were so many directions they could have gone.
Yeah.
That all of them would have been great. The problem is that they did all of them. If they had done any one of those things, it would have been awesome. But the fact that they did a little bit of all of it just made it awful to me. For instance, if it was just a more xenophobic, just kind of cute little mill deck, that wasn't super good but had a lot of interesting utility, whatever, I would have been perfectly fine with that. Cool, empty jar 2. Probably not going to be very good, but it's kind of cool that every now and again it can mill you out, right? Neat. That's just a neat little dumb deck that some people are going to play for fun, right?
Yeah.
And then, or they could have gone with, this is an engine and other strategies where this is basically instant fusion, but it comes at this cost, right? Of not being able to go to your battle phase, whatever. I think we'd mentioned before, Fountain should have just said, you cannot declare an attack while this card is face up.
Yeah.
Just ever. That should have been the restriction, is you have to completely remove yourselves of all the runic cards before you can ever declare an attack point with anything. That would have made it an actual restriction, instead of just you control the board and eventually you're just going to win, because if you have control of the board, you don't need your battle phase.
Yeah. Also, they worded them in such a way that if you chain a Lancia to their activation of one of them, they can still just resolve it. Why? Stop. This is the one time when you should have had a restriction to the cards where if A doesn't happen, B doesn't happen. This is when it should happen, so that cards aren't so free to do or resolve whichever way they want. So there's some actual cohesiveness to okay, this ruling worked for this, so this should work here too as well, right? No,
nope.
Let's just do whatever we want. I just did not like the runic cards. I did not like the way the runic cards were created. They were marketed and how they were used.
Wish so much that they had either chose to go the pure mill route, in which case it would have just been a cute little deck that you can pick up and solitaire with, and you could play it like a burn deck basically, and that'd be cool. I feel like Yu-Gi-Oh! It's been such a long time since we had a deck with an alternate win condition that actually can do its thing, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's been so long since burn has been a real strategy, right? By real, I mean very bottom of rogue. I don't mean like competitive. I mean like literally like you can pull it off at locals, right? If this was a locals legend sort of deck, that would have been amazing to me. I would have loved that.
Kind of like Night Pass. Like,
and especially with how the cards, I love the art. The art's great.
Oh yeah, the art's
it's like
it's an RPG setting.
Yeah, it's POV in an RPG.
Yeah,
and it's so cool. I love it so much. It genuinely feels so much like a video game. Whatever artist was involved with that, whoever came up with it, amazing idea. Absolutely lovely. Because it feels so much like you're looking at the screen, right? Like you're playing a video game.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I love it so much. And
the concept art was amazing.
The concept art's amazing. I love it so much. It's like
you have lore with the generators too on top of that. Which, honestly, like archetypes, as far as like aesthetics and everything, I love the way these guys.
I'm just a sucker for the RPG aesthetic in general. Like I love adventure.
The way same here. Like I just love the way they look. Like okay, maybe I've been bashing too much on the cards, but like I do want to make this clear that I wanted them to be good. It just pissed me off that this was basically just like Sky Striker 2.0.
Kinda,
in which like the only downside they had was that they couldn't have a battle phase,
which is not a downside at all.
Not a downside at all. Whenever you just like have it supplemented with another deck that once you do get around to your battle phase, because eventually you do, the restriction doesn't stack.
Yep.
You can just punch your opponent to death with like all your sprite cards or all your like whatever cards that you're playing with this engine with.
Yep. And it just doesn't matter.
Like
for it to be a generic engine, first of all, the banishing thing just makes it too high variance for a generic engine. It causes a lot of weird problems, right? Where sometimes you banish the one of in your opponent's deck and you just auto win, and sometimes you banish a card that gets some advantage, and it's like that level of variance in a generic engine is just kind of annoying, right? Because the runic cards, they kind of feel like they add consistency to your deck. Because they give this draw power and this utility, right? But then suddenly it creates this huge versatility with this huge volatility with whether or not you happen to hit certain cards out of your opponent's deck. It just makes games kind of like more volatile, even though it seems like a consistency tool. I don't know. I just really wish like this could have been great as two separate archetypes. Like the mill deck that makes you banish your opponent's top cards of your opponent's deck. But that's all they do. They can't mix with other stuff.
Yeah.
And then this generic engine that if you're willing to this huge deck cost of like at least 10 cards in your deck have to be runic cards and like at least 3 extra deck cards.
Yeah.
But it gives you a bit of extra consistency and some extra utility. That would have been cool. And then they give you some actual cost. Like a more difficult way to get around the battle phase.
Yeah.
Like if a Runic Fountain had said you cannot declare an attack.
Yeah.
So when you're ready to go for a game, you have to remove it. And therefore, provide your opponent an opportunity to kind of, whatever. You get my idea.
Yeah.
Runics.
Runic cards.
There's that thing about art where if it's just bad, it's bad. But the fact that it's so close to being good is what makes its badness even more.
It makes it sting.
Yeah. And that's how I feel very much about the Runic cards.
Let's look at all the unlimits.
Wow.
The OCG banners. Yes, we're still talking about the OCG banners. I know we've been going on a huge rant for each of these cards, but it's just our feelings,
Yeah. Well, they put Sagari to 3. That's interesting. I mean, we got it at 3.
Guyana to 3. We got what's it called?
Galatea,
Cursed Eldland to 3.
Eldland. Well, they limited skill drain, but put Eldland back to 3. So I'll call this neutral for stun players. I'll say this is a neutral ban list for the stun players.
It's like perfectly balanced. That's how things should be. Another Marvel meme.
So the Yada, we already know this card sucks.
Yeah,
it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
The swap frog, I don't know if they have Ronin band, but let's check that.
I think they do have Ronin band.
Let's check their little band list. Their cute little band list. See what they have going on here.
Don't they have like twice as many cards in the freaking? Like 10 times as many cards in the semi-limited list.
Yes, they love semi-limited cards. Toad's band.
Toad's band.
So swap probably not very good without Toad. Why would you play it instead of a thing that goes better with the engine, like a Angler or something, right?
Yeah.
So who knows? And then the Eldan, yeah, sure, that'll help. Eldritch isn't that good, but every now and again it sneaks in the top.
Yeah.
But again, I think the problem with them is just that these Floodgate cards have aged poorly. You know, I think just more of them got to go. I don't know. It's kind of feels cynical, but it's like at this point, it's just kind of I'm just tired of them.
Tired of Floodgate cards, huh?
Not all of them, but like Goes in Rivalry don't really bother me.
I feel like Goes in Rivalry are fine. It's only under very specific scenarios that they become unfair.
Yeah, but like and Tickboo I have mixed feelings about.
I feel like Tickboo just should not have been printed. I feel like that's a bad card. That was a stupid card.
Is something you can build and play around a lot better. You can just play a couple cards that are a different type, and then bam, you can make a Phoenix. Bam, you can.
It's really stupid. How, okay, so I think this was mentioned in an MBT stream again that the reason why cards like Tickboo exist, why Floodgates are so powerful, is because of stupid generic outs in the extra deck, like the Phoenixes. I honestly feel like the Phoenixes should not have been printed. Yeah, I don't think they should exist, and I don't think we should have that mentality like, oh, well, Tickboo's fine because Phoenixes is. No. Both should be gone. Both should be gone.
I'm not going to get I don't think Phoenix should be banned, so I think Tickboo is all right. But skill drain at this point, I just think it should be gone. I think that card should just be banned at this point.
Skill drain.
I thought it was kind of cool when it came back, and I was like, I wonder what's going to happen. And I was like, oh, that's boring.
Yeah, like every single game that skill drain produces is just boring as hell.
There's just no good out to it. No, because you can't Phoenix it. You can't. You have to have a spell trap removal.
You have to have an access code removed. Vanishing himself.
Code? Oh yeah, that does work.
I had to do it before.
It's a little high investment.
Very high investment just so that my opponent can flip another stupid skill drain.
Yeah.
If they're not going to get rid of it completely, put it to 1 at least, like the OCG did. Yeah. We have more than enough floodgates in the game. We don't need any more. Right. Especially the ones that are the most powerful. Skill drain is definitely in that category. Like Tickaboo, if you're not going to get rid of it, at least make it so I don't have to get rid of it 3 times.
Yeah.
Put it to 1.
That sounds fair. But for Eldritch, it's like, I don't actually hate the Eldritch cards themselves. They're fine. It's just that they always have to be put in this most degenerate shell that I've ever seen in my life. Where they're playing 20 floodgates.
And Inspector Border with like...
Yeah. And you're like, okay. The Eldritch cards, sure, they're facilitating this, but are they really the problem here?
No.
So, I think that the Eldritch cards are fine. And in fact, I would like them to print new Eldritch cards that give them more ways to interact with the opponent.
Yeah, something like to do different besides just slamming a bunch of floodgates.
Or to printing more new, interesting trap cards. Like Underroot, that's a really cool trap card. Mm-hmm. I'm really glad that card exists. And when trap decks play it, I'm like, that's really sick. That's a really cool interaction that they have in this trap card.
Yeah, because sure, you get rid of something, but then you have to give something to your opponent.
Yep, so you set something in their field.
Yeah.
But it can remove anything.
Yeah.
It's just so interesting. I mean, it's like a Raigeki break, but then since you don't lose advantage by discarding, you give them a set card.
I put it in the same category as Ice Dragon's Person.
Yeah.
I like the Ice Dragon's Person's design, and it's also like it was just great. Like sometimes you could actually like make it so that you would get pure advantage out of the move.
Yep.
Which was just like you could remove a pivotal card that they need in the graveyard and put it face down in their field, like with Underwood, and then remove the card they needed in the field and put it in the graveyard. Like it actually made it so that trap players had to think about their moves.
Yes,
instead of just flipping a stupid skill drain.
The cards, like the window to activate them presents so much opportunity for being intelligent. These sorts of trap cards.
Yeah.
Like Ice Dragon's Prison, your opponent can play around it to an extent, right? Yeah. But also, it's like they could also play into it. And you, as the trap player, need to
Obviously,
know.
Ice Dragons is not really good right now because of Caster.
It's not good right now, but
a lot of cards aren't really good.
But Underroot's the same way. It's like, to an extent, it can be played around. It just allows for skill to actually matter. Unlike a Floodgate, where it's like, the earlier you flip this up, the better it will be, no questions asked. So, that's why I think that they should just make more of those cards. And, like we said, just start kind of continue knocking down those stupid floodgates until eventually, like, Summit Limit, I just hate Summit Limit. Summit Limit, I think, could just be banned. I know it's not that good right now, but I just hate it.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those cards that is just like, well, might as well be banning something.
Yeah. Yeah. Summon Limit, it's like...
In a sense, it's worse because you get 2 summons.
Face down, the fact that it counts when it's face down, like, it's not you flip it up and then the next 2 summons, it's have they summoned twice at all, and then you flip it up, sure, they can't summon anymore. It really does feel like Vanity's Emptiness. Yeah. Which, because it's so dumb. So, that card is not that good right now, but just on principle, I think it should be banned. And it combos very well with Eldritch because you summon exactly twice. To pop a card with Volcera. Or, sorry, Conquistador. So, yeah, I think it'd be really cool if Eldritch was a playable deck that did not rely on floodgates. I think that'd be awesome.
That's probably impossible to do.
Yeah, probably. The Eldritch cards are so cool. Like, who doesn't like Eldorado?
Everybody loved the Eldritch cards. I remember when they first came out in Secret Slayers.
Yeah. They're really neat.
They're pretty neat. They're cool.
It was kind of a return to inevitability, too.
Yeah.
As a strategy. Like, you just never ran out of cards.
No.
Which was really... It felt like a return... It felt like the next evolution of
grind.
Legacy of the Duelist sort of gameplay. Which is really neat. That we saw a return to that a little bit. But, unfortunately... Sorry. Duelist Alliance. Sorry.
Duelist Alliance. That's what I thought.
Yes, it's kind of a return to Duelist Alliance, where it's just kind of like the gravy train just never ends, and that's what makes it neat. And it's not like any of the interactions are independently all that powerful, but the fact that the gravy train just never ends. But then again, the problem is just that floodgates make the deck.
I would recommend them. I mean, I would pair it more with like the Stardust pack, which was what was the name? Genesis Impact. I would compare it more with not Genesis Impact, Duelist Genesis. Yeah. Duelist Genesis. And the reason why it's because I think like it introduced not a new concept, but more like made it so that people had to grind now. They had to learn how to grind, which it was something that was at the back of everyone's mind throughout games. Especially doing like a Duelist Alliance format where had to have a few more cards in your deck, not just 40 but 43, in order for you to last a full mile. And Eldritch was really one of those decks that you could just grind with. You never really ran out of resources, and so you had to get into that mind state where you have to learn how to grind. You have to learn how to manage your cards a little bit more.
You have to think a few more turns ahead.
And also like. Combo orientation was a little different. Like after that set is when I think we got like the dual. There wasn't dual. It was Dual Overload, right? And Dual Overload contained all those crazy like Brains Pack cards. Obviously, this was during the pandemic, so nobody cares in the long run, right? Because there were no tournaments. But those cards were insane.
They were crazy.
That was the literal, like that would have been our Duelist Alliance too, I think.
They kind of walked back a lot of it, though.
Yeah. Like, by the time we actually got to play Yu-Gi-Oh!, none of those cards existed anymore. They've been banned. Yep. And now we're left with Pote, thinking of Pote as being our new Duelist Alliance.
Yeah. You're right. It definitely could have been Secret Slayers. It could have been the next Duelist Alliance.
Secret Slayers slash, what's called Dual Overload time.
Yeah. Well, yes, exactly. That the pandemic summer could have been the very pivotal moment for Yu-Gi-Oh! But because no one could play tournaments, it just kind of fizzled out into this weird piece of history.
Where like Skype got one of the most powerful cards ever printed banned, Link Cross.
Yeah.
Skype got Link Cross banned. Remember that?
I do.
Farfa said it.
Farfa said it. I remember when Link Cross was it was obviously being used for a bunch of degenerate stuff, but it was also like making Altergeist better. Do you remember that?
No, I don't
So,
remember that.
Pookery plus any card makes the Link Monster, right? Mm-hmm. The Link Monster gets a search when it leaves the field. So you can get a multi-figure. But there's no good way to remove it to search the multi-figure. Except for if you have Link Cross, you can just link it off. So it was basically just it basically just gave you, in a weird roundabout way, 3 extra copies of multi-figure. Which, since that's the most powerful deck in that, the most powerful card in that deck, it was a huge power boost. That then just immediately went away when Link Cross was banned. Nowadays, I think, I don't know what they even do. I think they just suck. I think that's what Altergeist does now.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of those decks, Goki, Trickstar,
they've all kind of fallen away.
Their time's come and gone. Mm-hmm. Sorry, Cyber Dragon doing that too.
I mean, Goki's still it's still like a rogue, like goofy combo deck with Phantom Knight cards. It's like it's not any better than anything else. Yeah, it's not any better than anything else, but it's like it's just another way you can play this rogue adjacent combo deck. So at least that's like kind of exists. Whereas like Trickstar's just gone. They died. They're dead. Like that's just fully disappeared. And Altergeist, it's like I think they're basically the same boat. They're just gone. No one's playing Altergeist anymore.
No one's playing Altergeist.
It's like barely being played.
There's a better trap card. There's a better trap card deck out there.
Yeah, Labyrinth, and has actually attractive women on it instead of weird robots.
Robots, monsters, whatever.
Anyway, speaking of attractive women, Kagari back. That's
Which one would you say?
Canonically,
She's 13.
She's
13.
A pretty young lady. There we go.
You still sound like a creep. Okay.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
Kagari back. They have more copies of Engage than we do. Their whole setup for Sky Striker is different.
Oh, you see, Runic cards are just so much better than Sky Striker cards nowadays.
Kinda. I kind of would be curious to know what like the combination of those two decks look like.
You summon Hugin, send for no reason. So, and then I don't know, maybe link it to Sieg. I don't know. Well, I really don't know.
I feel like you could do like you get the Fountain,
Area Zero. You would have to go Area Zero first.
There's some cards that conflict. Well, you could summon the thing to search the Fountain, and then you could Area Zero, get rid of it, to search a card, and then you...
Well, I mean, Striker's whole thing is that you're supposed to, like, amass enough interaction so that you stop your opponent from killing you. And the next turn you kill them, right? Well, I mean, not next turn, like, really, within the stream of a couple of turns, you kill them. So.
It's just that you have to survive a turn, and then your advantage engine's just so strong. Suddenly, because... Like, the thing is, it's not that you can go for game. It's that turn 2, you have 5 interruptions. Yeah, and you just get so much more interruptions as the game goes on. Yeah. That it becomes completely insurmountable for your opponent. And I feel like you could definitely facilitate with that with Runic cards. Also, like, because you want to hit 3 spells in the graveyard. Mm-hmm. So, like, activating a Runic card to grab the girl... to get a search, to grab the field spell, and then that's 1 spell in the graveyard, and then like you can remove it to get some sort of advantage, like with Link Up. What's it called again? The Linkage, the new Sky Striker card that's actually good. Then you could remove it to summon a guy, right? Yeah. And sometimes Linkage is actually kind of annoying to use because you don't have a card to send. In my own experience toying around with Sky Striker, so maybe that could be a good synergy. So then you always have a card to send. And then that also frees up your extra monster zone, obviously, for you to then summon whatever you want to summon, the Hayate or whatever. Yeah. And then you hit 3 spells in the graveyard, and you use your Sky Striker cards to get advantage, right? Because you've got the bonus. And then you Fountain, shuffle them back afterwards to get extra draws, after you've thinned out some of the Sky Striker cards so you can draw into staples, maybe. I'll have to look into it. It seems kind of interesting, but it's probably just not good enough. You probably just don't put up enough interruptions.
I mean, maybe not here in the TCG.
But over there, where they have 2
What, you're going to go to Japan and start playing
Well, bro, they got triple upstart and they aren't playing it. They've got the...
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they've got chicken game at 3.
They have chicken game. There's no way they have chicken game at 3 and they're not playing it. There's, like, you're lying to me. You're just lying to me.
I'm looking. I'm not seeing it. Looking through every band. It's not banned.
It's not banned.
It's definitely not banned. Let's check.
If it's at 1, I can understand, but better not have it.
I'm thinking it's not going to be here, but I'm looking. They got crossout designator at 1, map at 1. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the most.
Oh, but I'm not seeing. They've got the pressure planet.
I guess they really
do.
Just do not have like some degenerate guy that wants to just FTK everyone over there.
It's wild. Yeah, and then found
okay. If chicken game's at 3 and upstart is at 3,
Light Stage is still at 2 over there. That's weird.
What the heck are they doing?
Yeah, they've got
chicken games at 3 and upstarts at 3. That's 6 cards in your deck that are
just upstarts.
Just upstarts.
Bro,
and that's pseudo space.
And then you can play pseudo space, and then you can play the runic cards
and terraforming.
And so you get rid of the chicken game, so you don't have it to your opponent, right? And then you can also play. Master Duel's got to have a problem because Master Duel's at 3 too, 3 as well. Let's quickly. I think I saw some of the runic lists. The runic stun lists were playing chicken game. Let's give it a peek. See if there's some. Take a look at a runic stun list. Actually, we've definitely hit time. Oh wow, 2 hours.
Yeah,
my bad.
But anyway, well, before we do leave, I want to go over our usual Yu-Gi-Oh! Lingo section. So we were having a bit of a debate of what we should talk about this time around, and we ended up deciding that we should probably cover some cards that are being somewhat, or rather, lingo that's being used around this time. You sometimes might hear in reference to like a certain card being played right now called Castria Fenrir in the TCG, being referred to as a Dino Wrestler Pancratops, or a Pancratops, as they say. So what this means is, like what I just actually mentioned, they usually are referring to the card Dino Wrestler Pancratops, which is actually not too old of a card. If you're playing the game right now, it's more than likely that you know what they mean exactly when they like reference Fenrir as a Pancratops. But just in case you don't, this card was basically a going second card that was used mainly just to like pressure your opponent into like getting rid of some of their interactions. Yep. Now, Pancratops in practice, what did was basically it's a card that you can special summon to your side of the field if your opponent controls more monsters than you do. Yep. And then you can
2,600
attack points, so it's pretty big.
Yep.
Level 7, which is pretty nice level. And also, it had a pretty powerful and pressuring ability of being able to quick effect tribute one Dino Wrestler monster you control,
including itself,
or to target one.
It could be itself.
It could be itself. It could be any Dino Wrestler card in your side of the field. Monster. Sorry.
Pop any card your opponent controls.
Yeah. Target and pop one card your opponent controls.
Yep. And that was incredibly good because you could just threaten the battle phase, and then they had to try to remove it to keep you from attacking over something, and then you could just chain its ability to pop something.
Yeah. A single Pancratops could sometimes just result in breaking an entire board.
Yep.
Which became a very powerful going second tool. And it's because of that it's gained such fame throughout the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community as being just like this powerful going second staple.
Yeah.
Now, Fenrir kind of failed to do the same thing.
It did something similar for a little while.
It did something similar. It's still a very powerful card.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to grab another copy of itself, it's definitely nothing to scoff at.
Yeah.
And on top of that, like it has a Zudo ability that's almost the same, similar to that of what's called Pancratops.
It's also level 7. It's also got a high attack stat. It's also easy to summon for free. And then it also has a effect that when your opponent tries to stop you from attacking over something, you can respond and
or you can even use it proactively because during the battle phase,
if
you declare an attack, you can actually activate the effect. And I've done this before where I remove one of our opponent's monsters by doing that, and then I attacked over the other one.
Yep.
So it effectively almost does the same thing as Pancratops in certain scenarios, and even better. Mm-hmm. But most of the time, it's better to just have your quick effect.
It's a little worse because it has a little less utility. It's
Yeah.
not quite as high attack points, and its removal effect isn't quite as versatile. But I'd say the power level's higher.
Yeah.
Because the removal is way more permanent.
Yeah.
And it has better synergy with the actual deck it's supposed to be part of.
Mhm.
And also the fact that it grabs another copy of itself, so it kind of recurs itself in a way.
Yeah.
Or you can grab any other
Caster monster.
Castura card, which, depending on what deck you're playing, could be who knows what. So, there's definitely some... Like, you can just add the hat and then summon it to make a rank 7.
Yeah.
Can't you?
I
So,
think
even if you're not playing...
Yeah.
If you just want to make a rank 7.
If you just want to make a rank 7, you can actually just add the hat.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I don't... Anyway, so, it's a Pinkertops. And the Pinkertops there's several different cards that have been called a Pinkertops over the years.
You have
Fenrir's just the
Loyal
newest
Guan
one.
Yun,
Yep.
like which
Loyal
ancient-
Guan Yun.
from what's it called Ancient Warriors. You
Mhm.
also, I think, maybe that's it.
Alpha the Master of Beasts
Alpha the Master Beast
was called Pinkertops.
for a little bit. Yeah,
Sometimes cards that just summon themselves in that way
yeah,
are
and
called
then have some
Pinks.
sort of removal effect.
So, but when there's a monster that's a powerful going second tool, that you can, a large monster that can be summoned easily and interacts with your opponent in some way for going second, people call it a Pank.
Yeah.
People call it a Pinkertops.
Sadly, since Pankratops came out, most recurring Pankratops have been high rarity and expensive.
Yep. But when he came out, he was a common.
He was a common.
He
and
was
which
insanely
shocked the Yu-Gi-Oh community. How the heck is this a common? We expected secret with like short printed, and granted it was still short printed.
It was still short printed, but
Yeah.
as a common, it's still gettable.
Yeah.
And to this day, it's limited.
Yeah, to this day is limited. Should let you know where Konami has their heads.
Well, if it came up, I think people would probably play it.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a good card, even though it's not particularly good against Cash right now. It has a poor matchup there, but against any other road deck, it's like, wow, cool.
I don't know,
awesome
like
card.
special summon Pank, threaten battle phase against something. Okay, chain a Rise Head. Okay, chain Pankratops, pop the Rise Head.
Yep. But don't they usually equip it with the guy that makes it
Yeah,
indestructible?
they do equip it with the guy that makes it indestructible. But that's if they get the full combo. And they're not going
True.
to do that.
True,
you know?
true. So Pank, it's still an amazing card, and being compared to Pank is definitely a compliment.
Yeah.
For any card so lucky. Anyway, thank you all for listening, and goodbye.
Goodbye.